move into our first coffee break of the day. So we've got a case study that's going to be hosted by FASSET, and it's focusing on initiatives that empower women through financial education, access to funding, and of course, supportive networks. So please put your hands together for Ayanda Mafuleka, who is the CEO of the Financial Accounting Services Seta. Okay.
I didn't get the memo. Good morning, everyone. I trust everyone is okay this morning. I just thank God for this beautiful day and this beautiful conference. Thank you, Nedbank and Topco, for the opportunity that you have afforded to me to just share my thoughts about the empowerment of women through financial freedom and support. But let me begin by saying that as much as I believe that this is an important and necessary conversation to have, it does, though, strike me as strange that we need to be having it at all in this, the third decade of the 21st century, and after 30 years of democracy. Obviously, we live, after all, in an age of everyday miracles. We have grown accustomed to cars that can drive themselves, to artificial intelligent algorithms that can write, even think like human beings. And yet, for all the giant leaps that mankind has taken, when it comes to womankind, well, we are still one small step behind, sometimes even more. The old Chinese proverbs tells us, actually even Pumzile said it earlier, that women hold up half the sky. Why then does it still feel as if we are still stuck on the ground, waiting for the liftoff? Why, when we set out to reach for the stars, do we often bump our heads on the glass ceilings? So we do need to have this conversation. We need to ask why, when women are in the majority in this country, 67% of senior roles are still occupied by men. We need to ask why, for every rand that a man earns in the workplace, a woman earns only 78 cents. We need to ask why less than 10% of CEOs of all companies listed on the JSE are women. But even as we ponder these questions, ladies and gentlemen, it's worth noting that inequality between the genders is a global phenomenon. The great philanthropist Melinda Gates put it this way: if you want to lift humanity, empower women. It is the most comprehensive, pervasive, and high-leverage investment you can ever make in human beings. So let us begin by reflecting for a moment on accountability. Well, I define it here today not just as the ability to hold ourselves and each other to account, but I want to define it as the ability to open an account and access the most powerful currency for transformation, change, and inclusivity, which is money. So South Africa take pride in its banking system, which is one of the most sophisticated and advanced in the world. The recent Oliver Wyman Digital Banking Index, which evaluates the digital capabilities of more than 100 banks across 11 countries, ranked South Africa in second place, surpassed only by Singapore. As a side note, Mr. Nkuhlu, of the 9 South African banks that were surveyed for their customer service capabilities in the digital arena, the one that finished right on top was Nedbank. Well done, Nedbank. But as we get back, because I want us to get back to accountability, are South African banks doing enough to design and market products that are friendly to women, that make it easier for women to access the capital, advice, support, mentorship they need to start small businesses? We find a clue to the answer in an eye-opening statistic from the Global Entrepreneurship Monitor, where only 9 out of every 100 women in South Africa are involved in early-stage entrepreneurial activity. In a separate study that was conducted by Development Economics on behalf of Facebook, more than 25% of female responded said, well, they were very likely to start a business. Now, what would the outcome for the economy be if they were to follow up on their ambitions? So Development Economics did their maths. It's found that within the next 4 years, over 803,000 new businesses will open, close to 1 million jobs will be created, and the South African economy will receive a boost of about 175 billion, all as a result of female entrepreneurship. The harsh reality on the ground is that we can never know just how many business ventures failed to ignite because they lack the fuel to set them in motion. According to the Competition Commission, more than 80% of women-led micro, small, and medium businesses, SMMEs, are either unserved or underserved by the mainstream financial services industry. A primary reason for this, says the Commission, is that most women in South Africa do not own land or even property, which commonly serve as collateral for assessing finance through formal financial institutions. But to echo the theme of this conference, Africa rises. And when women, especially in Africa, rise, they surely lift as they rise. Hence, I want to get to the phenomenon of stokvels. In Taushems, we call them ama-society, which is the parallel informal economy that allows millions of South African women to join forces in mutual interest and in the quest to lift themselves out of subsistence and into financial independence and freedom. There are more than 500,000 stokvels or ama-society in South Africa with a collective value of more than 50 billion rands. Babunkuhl. Since women are responsible for managing family budget and expenses in about 40% of South African households, it's no surprise that they have embraced the sisterhood of stokvels to enhance their finances and improve their lives. Through the careful pooling of resources, these stokvels can be a very powerful way for women to save money, to invest, to educate themselves and their children, and to plant the seeds of prosperity for generations to come. But there is even greater value to stokvels, and that is the role they play in promoting and entrenching social capital in South Africa. So there was a study published in the journal called Social Works, which speaks of the harmonious relationships fostered in stokvels, encouraging members to take care for each other. So I remember one member that was assembled, one member of a stokvel in Orange Farm, is quoted saying, "We talk about our problems together and we have fun. We are always happy when we meet. And when we're finished discussing money issues, interest, we have cold drinks and we have fun like women do." So how many of us can say about our businesses, about our board meetings, about the financial institutions that we turn to for financing and funding? So there's so much that we in the formal sector can learn from those in the informal sector. So I, for one, would truly love to see the masterminds of our world-class banking system, such as Nedbank, to apply their minds to investing more into women-friendly products and solutions that play to our unique strengths and characteristics as a nation. I mean, we are a nation of stokvels and ama-society. We are even the nation of Shisanyamas, the nation of Poitkos, the nation of government of national unity still. But we have a way of mixing up things and mixing things together to come up with brand new concoctions. So, but when it comes to matters of financial inclusion of women and transformation, or even empowerment, surely we can learn even from other nations. We can take instance, for instance, Bolsa Familia program in Brazil. There's a program which combines cash transfers with financial inclusion measures, such as encouraging women beneficiaries to open bank accounts. We can learn from the financial sector blueprint in Malaysia. which includes initiatives to enhance financial literacy. Mam Toby talked about education, promote digital financial services, and expand access to banking services in rural and remote areas. We can learn also from the PMJDY program in India, which promotes universal access to banking services, including savings, accounts, and permission schemes for millions of unbanked individuals. And on our own continent, from M-Pesa in Kenya, which has revolutionized financial inclusion by providing easy access and affordable access to financial services through mobile phones. So what is stopping us in the 21st century from taking a concept as powerful, as proven as the Stokvel driven by women, by not formalizing it, refining it, digitalizing it, and transforming it into the next great financial instrument for the greater good of the world. For aspirant women entrepreneurs, access to education, access to mentors is therefore just as important as access to finance. So that is why as FASSET, which is one of the 21 seaters, we are investing into financial literacy programs, prioritizing women-led businesses and cooperatives. We have set aside a very sizable budget towards financial skills interventions for Stokvels, women-led SMMEs, where we want them to start looking into wealth creation, wealth creation initiatives, because they go through, in these programs, they go through an incubation and mentorship program. So we have done these initiatives through partnerships with Gracia Michelle Trust, with MasterCards Foundation, ITC, etc. And hopefully we will have an opportunity to partner with Nedbank as well. And we will be embarking on a very comprehensive research study in partnership with Gracia Michelle Trust through the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation that will inform policy. And this study will look, among other things, into the current financial inclusion landscape in South Africa across all 9 provinces. And we'll look into the systematic barriers within the financial ecosystem that impede women's access to finance. We'll also look at leadership of women in the financial sector and across other sectors as well, where we'll be spotlighting initiatives that already exist and determining the impact that they have had, if available, to build on. We'll also look at the social, economic, cultural, and institutional factors contributing to these challenges. Thereafter, then we'll provide evidence-based recommendations to various stakeholders, to women entrepreneurs, female fund managers, policy makers, and lawmakers such as Parliament, financial institutions such as Nedbank, and the private sector to improve women's access to finance. So I would like to close, ladies and gentlemen, by taking a brief look at the gender gap on the global scale. 2 years ago, the World Economic Forum published its Global Gender Gap report, analyzing the gender gap in 156 countries. At the top of the ranking, at the bottom rather, of the rankings with the highest gender gap in the world was Afghanistan. And at the right on top was a Nordic country that has long been seen as a role model for gender equality, gender parity, and freedom, which is Iceland. What can we learn from Iceland? What can Iceland teach us about the quest for gender equality and gender parity? The first lesson is that it begins with education. I can never stress that more enough. It begins with education. Even in preschool, children in Iceland are taught that men and women are equal in principle, in theory, and in everyday practice. Even in the workplace, there are laws that protect women and ban discrimination. I mean, there's even a law against discriminatory advertising and a ban on strips clubs to avoid demeaning women. Women are not a stock market. By 2009, Iceland had completely closed the gender gap in education and health. And today it is more than 90% of the way to closing the gender gap altogether. But the real lesson is that women of Iceland, over many years, have stood in solidarity, not just demanding equality, not just talking about equality, but earning it through collective action, political power, and shattering the glass ceilings at the highest level of society. So, let us too turn the small steps of inclusive transformation and financial freedom of women into bold strides, and the bold strides into giant leaps. Africa rises. We are the generation of men and women who are supposed to be leading the charge of women empowerment. I thank you.